of the things that I'm growing now, besides garlic, in addition to garlic, that you can sow in November and it grows all winter long and you harvest it in the early summer, are all these heirloom grains. This has been a project I've been involved with for a couple of years now. We've been growing out rare species of heirloom grains, different wheats, barleys, rye, from all over the world. For the last couple of years, there's a bunch of us been doing this, and we're raising up these varieties because they're highly nutrient dense. They're not like these fluffy modern wheats that people have a lot of gluten intolerance for. These are grains that are, they're not industrial grains. They were never harvested by machines. These are grains that the peasants used to be out there with their sickles, making their little piles in the field. So, not that that's something I aspire to be a peasant. But I do want to grow all these grains because I believe they are a critical part of our future food supply that we can pull off all winter long. We don't have to give any inputs for that. And come the middle of summer, beginning of summer, we get a high amount of nutrition from those grains. Right. So I'm very excited about these grains that we're growing, these heirloom grain varieties that come from all around the world. These are pre-industrial grains. They had never been harvested by a machine. They're usually always harvested by hand in a small scale, usually in a garden setting or an extended garden situation. The thing about these grains is they're nutrient dense. They have a lot of nutrients in them, way more than the hybrid modern grains that we're making fluffy white bread out of today. The other thing that's really important about grains and grain culture with human beings is not only did we have a need for a lot of different kinds of grains to feed us and our animals, we also needed lots of straw. Straw, the carbon that comes from growing grains, was a really necessary part of not only soil fertility, but it was a part of animal culture. It was bedding for all different animals of all different kinds. It was part of composting and collection of animal manures. Straw and the carbon leftovers from grain harvesting is a critical piece of small farm culture. And it's really a critical piece of soil fertility, which is what we're really all about when we're going to be growing plants. Like I often say, forget about growing plants, just grow the soil. And so by growing heirloom grains, harvesting them for their nutrition, we're also going to be able to harvest a lot of the carbon in the form of the straw that's going to be really beneficial. I was just talking about the whole gluten intolerance thing. How much of gluten intolerance is chemical intolerance? How much of it is the lack of nutrient density? How much of it is the lack of enzymes involved in that? How much, and then the chemical alterations that have happened. So there's so many aspects to food allergies and food non-compatibilities with humans that I think lies more with the food than the humans. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not really food anymore. A lot of the things we call food are not food. Okay, and everything that we call food is a product. I mean, I'm interested in getting people to create food that they can eat themselves and feed their friends and neighbors. That's not a product. Food that's not a product is revolutionary these days because basically it's hard to imagine, but for generations now, if you've eaten it, it's only because somebody's been able to figure out how to make money from you eating it. Okay? If nobody could make money off of what you're eating, you wouldn't have it to eat. It would not exist for you to buy off a shelf. Okay? And most humans now are convinced that the only way they're going to eat is if they buy stuff off a shelf. So all that stuff called food that comes off a shelf is making somebody money or it wouldn't be there. And it's hard to imagine how much that aspect has impacted all of our health, all of our digestions, all of our social arrangements, really, because we're not feeding each other. We're buying food for ourselves from third parties that really don't care if we live anymore. This is starting to get really obvious with the crickets. This is a horrible thing, and this is something I want to do a whole podcast on. But the rise of cricket flour and the use of insect bodies for human nutrition is completely disastrous. Okay, folks, the bugs are for the birds. Okay, the birds eat the bugs. That's how things are built, all right? Humans, I'm sure there's places where the cultures evolved to harvest some insect protein here and there, of course. Anybody who's watched Anthony Bourdain, watched him scarf down some nasty tidbits from all around the world, right? No, so those things are legit. I'm not arguing about that. I'm talking about this new thing where new factories coming up with insect grown in a lab insect powder that they are putting into all kinds of food products now. Lots of parasites. Horror. Stay away. Don't eat anything that's got a cricket in it or any ground up insect. When I do the big podcast on this, I'll have some links. I'll have some current information that people are putting out. Not good, folks. Grow your garden. Don't eat the bugs.